Alrighty, guys, welcome to tonight's charting session. Hopefully, everybody is doing well and had a good weekend. It is Sunday, January 7th. We're going to talk tonight about the chart, a little bit about last week. I did take a trade on Friday in the afternoon, so we'll take a little bit a look into that. And then, of course, what we're looking at going into the week, my bias, take a little bit time to look at some news as well that we can prepare for. And then, of course, any trades you guys took last week that we want to review, we can go over those as well. And yeah, so first things first, starting out most of the time on Sunday, we just like to do a little bit of a top-down analysis. I want to talk about where we are in the charts and kind of figure out what the model is going into this next week. So zooming out, we're finally starting to see some retracement back to the downside after this big move up, which is very exciting. I haven't been very happy or sort of trading a lot in this range. I've been pretty de-risked the last 2 months or so, but I'm now starting to get back to the groove again and upping my size slowly. I did take a pretty heavy trade later in the PM on Friday. We'll talk about that, and then, of course, my sizing as well. But where we are right now in the charts, NQ, of course, is at these highs. We do expect to go higher in the bigger time frame chart, like the weekly and the monthly. But right now, I do want to recognize the model that we are having. This is the first time that we are starting to see these daily imbalances really get ran through. We have displacement. We have a really nice breaker here on the daily that we formed as well on Friday. So what I'm looking for is now we have sold off. We are back to OTE of the range, and we've retraced back to equilibrium. So what I'm watching now is I would want to see this become sell side of the curve to go back down to this imbalance. And a lot of the times when we do have a big move like this, especially from these lows, again, we had the initial move up, we retraced back down, held the bigger time frame imbalance here, had a move up. When we zoom out here, a lot of the times I would like to see us go back to take this low, possibly back to OTE of this range that we actually had on the weekly, and go back to equilibrium here, right? So I do believe that we will go higher, but it's all going to depend on if we continue to hold these bigger time frame imbalances or not. So going into this week, what I'm watching for is to see if we can recognize the next step in whatever the market maker sell model is that we're looking for. So on the 4-hour, what I'm looking for here is what I would need to see to recognize if this is a valid model. So I want this to be sell side of the curve, or buy side of the curve here, and then I would want to see this week become sell side of the curve, and I would like to see us go lower. Now, what do I need to see, right? Because in our model, we have original consolidation, and now we're at a stage where I would want to see reaccumulation and a pullback back to the upside here before then selling back off to go take sell side. So where we are right now, I am bullish going into Monday. And the reason why I'm bullish into Monday is because if this is market maker sell model, we will most likely have this move to reaccumulate price back to the bigger time frame imbalance before continuing lower. So right now, zooming in, let's look at the internal structure that we have. We've actually pulled back into the daily. We've swept this little internal low here. Again, all of this generated sell side that we've been forming on this move to the upside. I'm expecting us to continue lower and end up taking out all these lows here. But where we are right now, I do expect us to have an initial rebound, possibly to the daily fair value gap. So the buy side level that I have marked here is going to be the internal buy side model that we're actually going to look at, right? So again, what we focus on is models inside of models, right? The best way to get high quality setups, the best way to have the best conviction that you can is by aligning the higher time frame model with the lower time frame model. And we know, again, what are the 3 reasons why markets move? Hunt liquidity, rebalanced equilibriums, and rebalance to fair value gaps. So where we are right now, if this is the market maker sell model, we at least I'm looking at here is we finally have a candle that's starting to form. We're holding this daily fair value gap down here. I'm looking to see this get initially bought up. Number one, to first, this daily fair value gap. So this is going to be my internal buy side level that I'm going to look for going into Monday. If we end up running through this, I would expect us to then go back to the unicorn, right? Which is this breaker as well as this daily fair value gap. So this is where I'm really looking for price to go Monday, Tuesday, before continuing later to the downside in the week. Now, again, there is a possibility that we could still hold this and then run through this to go higher. But until this gets ran through, this daily fair value gap, and we end up running through this, I do not expect us to go higher. I expect us to go back down to take this low before going back to this high. So zooming in, this is going to be our internal model that we are looking for. Going into the Friday, it looks really, really clean on Friday. We ended up having manipulation at the lows. Again, continuing to hold that daily fair value gap before getting really, really nice displacement. Again, continuing to generate buy-side liquidity, right? We have these previous highs, 1, 2, 3, now acting as buy-side liquidity that I want to see get taken out tomorrow. This is what I'm expecting to see buy side of the curve. We're slowly starting to move up here in the Sunday night session here that we just opened up. We're slowly kind of move here. I do expect this to most likely be the low before having our move up into the daily fair value gap, right? So aligning those intraday models. This is a model in its own. I'm expecting this to become the buy side of the curve. Why? Again, it's aligning with the bigger time frame model, which is there is liquidity resting here, and we know that market likes to rebalance to equilibrium and fair value gaps. So bigger zooming out, this is liquidity nestled in the bigger time frame daily fair value gap that we're looking to see get rebalanced to. So going into Monday, I am going to be bullish. Once we get up into this daily fair value gap is where I'm going to see if we do start to reject or not. So if we do go into Monday, and depending on what happens in the overnight session, if we wake up and this high has already been taken, I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant on taking a possible long than if we were to wake up and we're still in this range, right? If we wake up below this level, I'm going to be looking and I'm going to be bullish to see us find some sort of setup to work our way up into this buy side level. But if we end up waking up and this high is already taken, I'm going to be a little bit more patient. So I did mark our standard deviation, which is our manipulation leg from Friday, which was the last move down. So this was our last manipulation here, which are 2 to 2.5, again, resting pretty nicely above our buy side level. So this is where I'm expecting price to go. Once we get here is where I'm looking to see if we might possibly reject or not. So this is where I'm expecting price to go on Monday. We'll see if we do end up getting that move to the upside. But the structure that I'm looking for going in is depending on whatever happens in the overnight session, I would like to see an initial stop rate in the morning. So a lot of the time when we do set us up for a move like this, again, this was the TGIF model, which was the Friday buy model, again, selling off the whole day or the whole week actually before having that Friday model here that had the initial move up. This is now setting us up for the buy model early in the week before retracing, right? Rebalancing price higher on the bigger time frame before then possibly selling off later, setting us up for next week as well, because this is going to be the bigger time frame model. So the way that we're going to really figure out if this is sell side of the curve is once we do get up into this area, this initial daily fair value gap, the daily fair value gap here, the breaker. Once we get up here is when we're going to really start to look for that rejection, right? Once we see us either come up, let's say Monday, we end up coming back here, initially retrace again, right? Back to equilibrium, right? Once we respect that 2 to 2.5, what can we expect? Go back to equilibrium of whatever this price leg was, and then possibly continue higher back into the breaker before forming more structure here, having maybe an initial manipulation, and then selling back off in this range. And this is kind of what I'm expecting to see going into this week. And this is kind of the structure I would want to base some trades off of, right? So going into Monday, I'm going to be pretty bullish. I'm looking to see that internal buy side level get taken first. From there, once we come up into the standard deviation projection, I'm looking to see if this does become a manipulation move, a possible Judas, depending on, again, what the morning does. And then, of course, once we respect here, I expect us to go back to equilibrium of this entire price leg, which most likely will be back down here. And then from there, I'm looking to see new structure, right, to validate whatever the internal bias is. So any questions on the bias going into tomorrow so far? Is there a higher chance of price going to nestled liquidity than to a normal liquidity level? Yes, absolutely. Because again, why do markets move? Hunt liquidity, rebalance to equilibrium, rebalance to inefficiencies. When you get liquidity nestled in an inefficiency, it's higher probability because markets are most likely already going to rebalance to the inefficiency on a bigger time frame. So the reason that this becomes a high probability buy side level is because it is, number one, a past session high. So we have London high here from a past session. This is also the liquidity nestled on a bigger time frame imbalance, right? Which is what we want to see happen going into the market maker sell model on a bigger time frame. Is we're going to get most likely a rebalance here before then selling back lower if we don't end up running through this. But I'm expecting most likely this to hold, and I would want to see us continue lower. How did you mark manipulation move from the SD? Yeah, so again, SD, I want to find the manipulation, which is the last leg before our structure shift. So you go into the 1 minute here, and this was our last move here. From this high to this low was our last leg move lower. And you can see I have this low marked here because this, from the swing high to the swing low of this last move lower before having our break above this high higher, this is our manipulation move. So this is going to give me my projection for the week, or at least going into the Monday, Tuesday. You and Johnny got the exact same bias. That's what we should expect. Again, if it's clear to us too, ICT traders, how you know that me and Johnny do our job and that we are a good community is if we're all trading ICT concepts and the market is really clear, we should all have the same bias, right? And it's going to continue to build conviction when we're trading together, right? Especially when we're on live and me, Johnny, DJ, and you guys can see the exact same things and the exact same setups. We'll be taking the same setups, and that's how we end up building conviction, is by working off of each other, right? Because everybody's going to see the same things. The times when it's not a good time to trade, right? If you ever notice, there are times when we'll take trades on lives. Some people want a short, some people want a long. And some people are going to, be successful. Some people are not going to be successful on whatever that trade is. But the best trades that we take are the ones where everybody's on the same page because it looks super, super clear to us, right? And those are going to be the high probability trades. Yeah, let's take a look at DXY here as well, right? So we want to have a bearish bias on DXY this week, at least going into the morning of Monday, if we do want to expect higher prices on ES rebalancing, right? So number one, this does look very bearish, and I am liking where we are here. So this could, again, expect to see higher on NQ and ES if DXY is bearish, right? So notice we just retraced back into the daily fair value gap. We do have sell side resting here. Now this could be an area which we do start to bounce up. If this daily fair value gap gets ran through, I would absolutely expect to, again, come back to all this generated buy side that we have, if this can get ran through. But right now, zooming in, we have swept this internal buy side level. We are starting to reject the daily. I would like to see us go back to equilibrium of this range, and this will set us up for that move on NQ to move us higher, right? Because again, DXY selling back off to equilibrium, that'll set us up for NQ to move higher into this buy side level. So again, DXY and NQ both aligning in the bias that we want to see, which is a good thing. All right, let's take a look at, let me talk about this trade that I did take on Friday in the PM session. So in the morning, right, we did have displacement. I didn't really end up watching the morning a lot. I was working and I was at the gym at the time, but when I got back, I did check the PM session and I did see a little opportunity here that I did take. So going into the PM session, we had this initial move up and we started to form, again, what do you think we're doing on this kind of way to the downside here, right? We're generating buy side liquidity. We create new highs before finally reaching back down into the initial breaker that we had in the morning. So zooming back out to the 15-minute, we had this nice order block here, which is back in, of course, OTE of the range, right? Going back to OTE of the range, back to equilibrium. And from here is where I'm expecting us to most likely get some sort of bounce from. So again, I'm looking for the manipulation move as well. So we have this fake move higher. We end up retracing, again, continuing to hold this bearish imbalance. We never end up breaking through this before finally selling off lower. This could have been a possible short entry right here. Once we had this little manipulation move at this high, we got displacement below the low right here before retracing back into the fair value gap here, which could have been a possible short to target new lows, again, back to this previous low since we didn't have an initial manipulation move, right? Now, a lot of you guys, I think some of you guys did take this long, which ended up getting ran through. And what I don't like about longs here is there was no manipulation on a bigger time frame, right? Notice when we end up creating these lows here, this is just an initial move to rebalance price higher, right? We have 1, 2, 3, right? We have our 3 drive pattern here. We end up creating a low before having a bigger move up. But when we end up zooming out, there was no really significant low here that was really taken at all, right? We had initial move lower, took a low here, not really a swing low, continuing to kind of slow. We actually, this is the first time where we really get to put in a swing low. So we put this initial swing low in, have this initial move up, and then selling all the way back off. Once this low gets taken, I have a lot of high probability that this will most likely be the low we create before bouncing higher. And the reason is because the confluence starts to align. We have initial sell side and internal being swept. We're in a breaker. We're in the initial 5-minute fair value gap. We're OTE of the range. And we have buy side resting above us that we know we're most likely want to go back to. So zooming into the 1 minute, the only really thing that I was looking for here is possible an SMT, displacement up, and I was looking to see us rebalance to, again, whatever the resting buy side is, that's easy, and equilibrium of the previous range, right? So retracing back to equilibrium after taking this low. So what I was looking for is the internal sell side got swept. Again, I'm waiting for either manipulation or displacement. We're chopping, we're chopping, we're chopping. We come back down one more time, finally having that internal manipulation before, again, having our smart money reversal. Once we see this SMT, I'm waiting to see displacement, and boom, right? This is the first 1 minute fair value gap that was created after the manipulation, after the SMT, right? This 1 minute here gets ran through, and then from here, this is really the best risk that I can have, right? It was a 5 RR trade. Once we come back into the imbalance, back into the order block, the sell side internal has been swept. Sell side here has been swept. SMT at the lows, and finally getting that displacement up. So once I see that fair value gap, I took a long targeting up into these little equal highs up here, and I ended up scaling out along the way. I took some off here, and then I let the last ones go to these equal highs here, and that's all really I needed. Again, the market was about to close here too, so I did take it off because I wasn't going to hold in the market close, right? There's no reason to. And most of the time, too, I don't really trade the last 10 minutes of the market. But I did give this a try because I liked what we were looking. And I was expecting to see a last little power hour move to rebalance price higher. So that was a nice little long that I took going into Friday. So now this move, right, is setting us up for this buy side of the curve going back up into these highs here. So depending on what happens in the overnight session, is what's going to really give me my bias going into tomorrow, right? If we end up continuing to consolidate in this range before this high is taken, I'm going to look for if we can possibly get some longs at open. And a lot of the times when we do have a setup like this, most likely when market opens, the first 5 to 10 minutes, we get a super fast move lower to stop out whatever the recent low is before pumping pretty quickly. So what I'm expecting going into Monday is, again, note this down because this will most likely happen. This happens a lot of times. When we do have this move, when we set us up for Friday to then rebalance price higher, a lot of the times we'll end up consolidating or having a slow move up in the overnight session before at market open, having a quick move to take out this buy side, right? And most of the time, first 5 minutes, we'll just, boom, have a pump up to there. So we'll see if there is an opportunity to take advantage of that. But again, it all depends on what happens in the overnight session, and we'll talk about it tomorrow morning once we end up seeing that too. So was this A+? Yes, it was. It was very high quality setup. All right, let's take a little look at news going into next week as well. Monday, not really much going on. Doesn't look like we have anything, so no news Monday. Again, most of the time, don't really like no news Mondays, but I will be trading it. So we will be trading a little lower size going into tomorrow, depending on, again, expecting Monday to most likely set us up for the rest of the week when we do have no news. Tuesday, not really anything either. So again, Monday, Tuesday is probably going to set us up for the rest of the week. Before Wednesday, we do have 10-year bond, which a lot of the times actually has been causing a lot of volatility recently. It is an orange folder news, but every time that we have had a bond auction, we have had a lot of volatility from it. So do keep that in mind on Wednesday. And then Thursday looks really nice. We do have CPI, so that's going to give us some nice volatility. And then ending the week off on Friday with PPI as well. So again, looking pretty good going into this week. All right, any trades that you guys took last week that we want to take a look at? I'd love to review them. So let's see. Working on buying on stops when draw is clear. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it looks good, brother. Again, bigger time frame imbalance coming back. You know the draw is higher. Again, trading that internal model, nice low resistance liquidity before coming down, stopping equal lows. Had that nice displacement. Could have took the fair value gap, buying the stops. Looks great, brother. Nice stop hunt there, too. Justin took this short in the 30-second AMD model. Pull back to the 30-second fair value gap target. One internal low, then entered again targeting the breaker. Will you ever target a breaker? Realizing now I should have let most go at the external low. Let's take a look. So I really like this as the internal model. If I was going to take a short, the best short you could take here would be here, because this looks like a really nice AMD. You have your accumulation manipulation tapped in here. This could have been a nice short, but this is also a nice short too because we still have sell side resting below. So this looks really good. This also looks really good. Did you take it here? The best entry here would have been here after, again, noticing these little highs here. Once that high gets taken, that's that nice little internal manipulation, again, stopping out all those traders that were initially short before then continuing lower. targeting the breaker, this is fine. Yeah. Again, if you don't have confidence in letting it go all the way, again, the more that you're going to build confidence from it is just by seeing it happen a lot, right? So this is absolutely a fine place to scale. And again, scale half your contracts, put the rest at break even, and then let the rest go, right? And again, the more that you see it happen, the more you'll be able to recognize when, should I have taken it here? Was there a reason for this breaker to hold, or were we going lower anyway, right? The more that you see it happen, the more you're going to build conviction. So I say, hey, look at this. You think it's a breaker? We can absolutely bounce, take some contracts off, put the rest at break even, and see where the rest goes. And then again, from there, you're going to see if the model was what you wanted to see or if it wasn't. Thoughts on this quick scalp I took on Thursday? Initial stop right here in this imbalance, came back. Nice displacement. This doesn't look too bad. I think your risk is way too tight on here. I think you're just too zoomed in. A lot of the times you're going to get stopped out trading very, very tight like this, especially trying to catch a little move like this on this like 1 minute. If you are going to trade this, I think the best option you could take is by entering it in this imbalance here, putting your stop down here and giving just a little bit more room. I think this is just a little too tight, and there's a very high probability that this is most likely going to get stopped. Again, keep in mind, you have this imbalance nestled in here as well, right? You put your stop at this 1 minute that could absolutely come back to with this order block. So this is just a little tight, and a lot of the times you're going to get stopped out trying to trade this tight here. Bigger time frame imbalance, nice manipulation. Again, this looks like the same model here, which looks great. AMD, manipulation, displacement. This is where I would be looking to take an entry. Once this becomes AMD, I'm expecting us to continue lower after the bigger time frame imbalance gets rejected. Once we get this displacement, comes back, this is where I would most likely be looking to take an entry here or after this internal sweep. But this is not a bad entry as well. This is not a bad entry as well. Again, you're just trading the reaccumulation entry, so this looks fine. Can you maybe also show more and often some examples on other pairs where SMTs doesn't play a major role? SMTs always play a major role, if I'm being completely honest. But there's always going to be SMTs that are not, SMTs that you need to pay attention to, and there's SMTs that you do need to pay attention to. And the ones that are ones that you don't versus are all have to do with if they are in favor of the draw, if they are in favor of your bias, and reasons if they are at lows. Again, SMTs will not be useful if you don't recognize what the market maker model is. Is there a reason we need a bounce? Should we go, rebalance the equilibrium? Are we going to go rebalance the, the inefficiency? If we are at a low here, right? If we're at a low here and there's an SMT, this is a high probability we're going to bounce here. Why? Because we have an SMT aligned with a imbalance, with an order block. There's a lot of PD arrays that start to align that gives you high conviction for an area that we're most likely going to reject. Small scalp, bouncing off breaker, swept internal, created 1 minute imbalance, order block, overlaps, imbalances, target equal highs. Let's take a look. Again, not too bad here. If stop is at the low, nice little 1-to-1, little scalp, not too bad. Again, if I'm being completely honest, any little scalps like this that you guys take, especially early in the morning, and you're trading the 1 minute, always trade a little bit lower size with this. Just because there is a very high possibility. Again, all this entire the way that you need to think about this kind of move is this move on a 1 minute. When you zoom out to a 5 minute, all this is buy side of the curve. So we're eventually going lower. Now, if the draw is higher when we go into a market like this, when we're looking and say, like, if this high right here, this line was the buy side draw that we're looking for, this move higher is the internal buy side of the curve. So when you are scalping this, always try to take entries once we're back in some sort of discount or premium, depending on if we're long or short, and then look for a PD array off of that, right? When we're buying right here in the middle of this range, it just gives you a little bit really not good risk at all, right? Because we've now rebalanced here. This is where you should really be taking an entry once we rebalance to discount of this previous price leg, right? Once we go back to discount of this previous price leg, you just get way better risk, and it's just a better entry, right? From here, you get displacement, which is nice. But if you're targeting just this internal low or internal high, it's just a simple 1-to-1, and there's a very high probability you get stopped out, right? Because we're just too zoomed in here. Didn't take this trade, but I seen price went into a higher time frame PD array and swept sell side while tapping into an order block and equilibrium. About that made market structure shift and fair value gap. I set my stop at the bottom of the order block. Take a look. Yes, doesn't look too bad. And the best entry here that I was actually looking at going back in the Friday's PA was this right here, this order block. So I know a lot of traders that took this entry. This was the morning Judas. Again, setting us up for, this is basically TGIF. Morning manipulation, sell side, waiting, failed to go lower, SMT. Once we got this move up, this nice order block, possibly could have even taken something up here. But once this whole, we're expecting this entire imbalance to get ran through because this is the morning move here, right? Manipulation, Judas, we're in the daily fair value gap. We have all of this resting sell side, right? Again, when we see a move like this on the smaller time frames as well, all of this just becomes generated sell side, or buy side, sorry. All of the highs that we get put in here, all of these little highs, all becomes generated buy side. So when we have our Judas in the morning, we stop out both sides, right? Again, recognizing why the algorithm is doing what it's doing. When we have this initial move in the morning, right, all of these highs is going to become generated buy side for us to then initially get, again, all of these highs will get ran, right, because there's liquidity resting everywhere. When we have manipulation in the morning and we get this displacement move, especially if you're trading the internal model here when you're zoomed in, well, you can expect to continue all the way through here after this manipulation. Number one, because we're in the daily. But once this gets broken through and we get this displacement, you can expect to most likely see all of these highs get ran through, right, on the intraday. But when you zoom out more, this then becomes another generated buy side level for us to then rebalance back to OTE of this manipulation leg and then to finally finish buy side of the curve, which is what I'm expecting going into tomorrow. Took this Friday morning working on a Suns model. Silver bullet strategy targeted 1-to-1 while building conviction on it. Let's take a look. This doesn't look too bad too. Displacement up, pull back to the imbalance, waited for market structure shift. I would like to see if there was an SMT here. I'm not sure if there was, but that would have been nice as well. Extra confirmation. Displacement, that swing high right here ends up getting ran through. Have nice buy side resting above. Pull back to, again, equilibrium of this price leg here. Nice long, good risk. I would say, again, I think your PT, if you are, again, you're trading Cameron's model, that's fine. If you're trading the 1-to-1. But this is one of those models, absolutely leave a runner here. Especially with this kind of model. Again, this is just internal sell side buy side of the curve. We know we're at least going to new highs. So you can absolutely leave a runner to go to new highs there. Or just target that in general. And then you'll continue to build conviction when you end up seeing it happen too. On times where you can let your runners go versus not. Thoughts on this trade, Justin? Was taken Friday afternoon before you took your trade. Use those highs and the 15-minute fair value gap as the draw on liquidity. There was also no bearish imbalances on the way up, so I assumed it to be low resistance liquidity run. Yeah, this looks clean, brother. Clean. Buy side, again, rebalancing. Again, liquidity nestled in the bigger time frame imbalance. Bigger time frame 15-minute fair value gap. The first fair value gap that gets actually ran through. Notice, once we take this, why does this not work here? Because once this low gets taken, what are we watching? This imbalance here. This imbalance right here never gets closed above before going back lower. Before finally running through this imbalance here. Having nice manipulation, rebalancing to the 15-minute before having the move up to buy side. Great risk on this too. I would say if you are going to take this entry, you can put your stop at this low. So, because you can maybe get stop on it here. But again, that's just preference on where you want to put it. But looks great. I like it. Friday PM trade. Looks great, Blake. Took this on NQ after a 5-minute bullish market structure shift, expecting a minor pullback to discount. I zoomed into the 15-second time frame, took a 2022 model short into the 5-minute left side, 15-second right side 5-minute. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is the internal AMD. This looks great. Yeah, looks great. Again, internal accumulation here on the left before having the manipulation. Again, this is an area which we expect to reject too. Why do we expect to reject here? Zoom out. 15-minute inverse, 15-minute order block, right? This is an area which we expect to reject. Also, back to discount of the range. So we come back to discount of the range. We have the 15-minute order block. We have the 15-minute inverse. We have a 5-minute fair value gap, right? Very high probability we're going to reject here. So what's the best entry I can take this? Look for manipulation, right? Zooming in. Perfect AMD model. Chopping, 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 chopping. Wait for the clear manipulation. Boom. Takes the highs. No displacement here. Right when we get displacement back inside this range, you should be confident this is going to be the high before going lower, right? Again, bigger time frame, aligning with the intraday model. Wait for manipulation. Take the pullback on the smaller time frame to the imbalance. Targeting lower. Leave your runners. Looks great. Five-minute fair value gap. Let 1 minute get inverse to play it safe. 15-second internal sweep, then 15-second formed. Went long to most recent high stop under the 1 minute fair value gap. This doesn't look too bad either. I would be a little bit skeptical here just because this candle kind of closed right back into this imbalance. But if there was a way to zoom in, what I would be looking for here is, if this is on 1 minute, I would zoom into the 15-second. After this little low here is taken, I would look to see the displacement up and then whatever the 15-second is. Because I don't know if this 1 minute does become inverse just because we didn't close above. It's just a little sketchy for me. Because then I would expect to then resell back to here before having the manipulation, but then going higher. Thoughts on this trade on gold? Bigger time frame imbalance. You got nestled liquidity. Again, 1, 2, 3. Equal highs get taken. Displacement, order block, short. Looks great, brother. Again, this should not be your PT here. This should be your main PT at this low. Took 25% off. This should be 80% off here. At least 50%. Because, again, the model you are trading, again, recognize the model you are trading. You have to be trading the market, not your P&L. There's no reason for you to leave most of your position here. Take it off here. Why? Because this is what the market is telling you, right? You have conviction that we are going here from this model. Retrace to bigger time frame imbalance. Equal highs. Displacement. Nice model, right? Nice sell side of the curve here. Sell side of the curve telling you that we 100% most likely go to this low. So why take 25% off here when this is your low-hanging fruit? Low-hanging fruit needs to be your confident market. And if you are trading what you are confident in, this needs to be at least 50 to 80% off before then leaving a runner. Then the runner will get stopped. Because now your risk on this trade, you're risking this much to make this much, and you only took 25% off. This is negative risk here. Negative risk, because you're risking this. This trade here is maybe 1.5 R if you were to take here. So now you took 25% off. This becomes negative. Make sense? Again, trade what the market is telling you is what needs to be your price target. And then let your runners go to whatever the external draw is. Took this short on Friday looking for 2022 model. Would you have taken this? And if so, no, I would not have taken this. This is one of those trades where most likely gets ran through, right? 2022, why don't we reject here? Let's take a look. Actually, let me zoom in here. Way too zoomed in. Why does this not work out? Number one, you're way too zoomed in. There's no displacement on the bigger time frame. 1 minute, first displacement. Zoom out, 5 minute. Zooming out on the 5 minute. Is there a reason for us to really sell off here? No. There's no imbalance to the left of us on the bigger time frame. It's all just generated sell side, or all generated buy side. There's no 2022 because there's no liquidity taken. And it's not in favor of the internal draw, which is these equal highs, which is the daily fair value gap. Yes, this looks clean. Clean. Very, very, very clean. Again, same model. AMD here. Took your entry once we got the displacement between this low. Added on this imbalance here. Again, reaccumulation on that balance. And fair value gap looks great. Targeting the lows. Beautiful. I like this too. Good risk on this. Targeting the equal highs. Looks good. Thoughts on the trade you took January 3rd, 940 NQ. You guys send me a screenshot. I'm not gonna look for it. I'm not sure which one that was. Took a week off trading, was on vacation, and was a nice little mental break. Any tips on how to trade after a break, or does it matter too much? Not sure what I'm feeling, Rusty. Great question. Going back into trading from a break, your main goal should just be getting back into the groove. You should not be coming in trying to make money. You should be trading low size for at least a week once you take a break. Low size for at least a week to build back your confidence, recognize the models, right? Get back in the groove of things, and then slowly start to up your size back up. But your goal just needs to be getting back in the groove of things. Thoughts on this? I like this a lot more than this. The reason why I like this setup more is because waiting for the first entry, there's no displacement below the low. I'm waiting for displacement, which is a big move lower. This move here, there's no swing low to the left of us that got displaced through. This was the first time where we actually had a swing low here get displaced through. So I'm more comfortable taking this entry than this entry, and this is going to be a high probability entry than this. Hello, strangers. I haven't traded in 2 weeks now. I realized the problem I was having the last month and a half was trying to get into every potential setup I saw to make money, but also that I wasn't focused on any particular model. I decided to back off from trading and learn to separate the emotions of FOMO/impatience. I'm going to get back into trading this week with the focus of trading 1 or 2 models with the goal of trying to master these models. I'm going to start by going back to paper or perhaps micros and take my time and only trade the setups that I check the boxes for the specific models I'm trading. I ended the year 2023 in the red, but much closer to the break-even point rather than tipping the scale, which is thanks to Justin. This year, I'm going to work on mastering my craft and being patient. The money will follow. Let's make 2024 our bitch. Let's go, Uno. Love to hear it, brother. Keep it up, bro. This was Friday after tapping the 15-minute unicorn. Yeah, I like this too. Yeah, this looks good. Again, first thing that got ran through, nice imbalance. Again, notice this move up here, no imbalance. Looks great. Generating buy side here, here, here. Bigger time from imbalance. All gets ran at the same time. Low resistance liquidity run. It's not too bad. This is a nice little scalp. Again, looking at this, what I see is, again, this becomes a sweep as well, but once this is really like the first displacement we get, and then I'm waiting for the manipulation here. Once this high gets taken, displacement, that's the perfect time to enter. Time and price will align here. Looks good. Justin, can you explain when we come into a higher time frame array, we tap it, then do one more raid of the internal low before the actual move? Okay, if we're coming into a bigger time frame imbalance, right? I can't take a trade unless the market tells me that there's a reason for us to go higher, right? Let's say this is a bigger time frame. Let's say we're on a 1 hour, right? We're on a 1 hour here. And this is a 1 hour bullish imbalance. So let's say I'm looking at the 1 hour. We created an imbalance here. We're coming back and we have something like this, right? Initial stop right here. And we have something like this, right? And we think, and the external draws higher, right? The external draws higher. So for me to have a reason, right? It's timing. It is recognizing when smart money is getting into the market and recognizing the best time to take advantage of the model. When we are here, what am I looking for before taking some sort of trade, right? I am looking for either clear manipulation, which could be AMD, accumulation, manipulation, right? And then trade this, right? I'm looking for, in SMTs, I'm looking for displacement, right? Once we get this, there's multiple ways you can trade this, right? This is the internal model that you can possibly trade, number one. This becomes the internal buy side level, but on a bigger time frame, once this gets displaced through, this now becomes our market structure shift. So you can trade the internal model here, SMT at the lows, trade whatever the internal buy side level is, trade the AMD, whatever, right? Once we get this displacement, then you can look for the model. Because then what this becomes is the external sell side and buy side of the curve, right? So now what do I look for? I look for a retrace back to equilibrium and some sort of imbalance. So there might be a breaker here, right? Might be a fair value gap. Let's say there's a little breaker right here, right? and I'm looking for price to come back to this fair value gap. From here is when I zoom in and look for the exact same thing again. The exact same thing. Boom. Coming to the imbalance. If this is a 15-minute, right? If this is on a 15-minute time frame, what am I looking for? I zoom into the 5-minute, I zoom into the 1-minute, and I look for the same thing. Chop, chop, chop. Manipulation. Boom. This is where I enter. And that's the best risk I can possibly get. Put my stop at the low. Target here. Target here. Let my runners go. Models inside of models is when you'll get the best entries and the best timing. But I need to see the manipulation first before taking some sort of entry. Make sense? I always wonder how you trade multiple accounts at once. I don't. I mean, okay, sometimes I do, but it's on completely different things. So there's times where I don't trade, I don't copy trade. I just have different accounts, like different live accounts that I'll trade, or if I'll trade a funded and then my other main account. I'll have one account connected to my TradeOvate or my trading view, and I'll trade like this account I trade on live. Right, this is the one I'll trade on live with you guys, and it'll show on here. And then I sometimes trade on my other account, but I'll just open up TradeOvate and then I'll use the DOM, and I'll just have the DOM on my other monitor, so I can enter one account through TradingView, and then I'll enter another account using the TradeOvate DOM, if I want to. Right. Justin, trying to practice 2022 model, is this a bad setup because of the bullish fair value gap getting ran through? It's actually a crypto pair. Crypto pair. It's not bad. I would be waiting for this candle though. Sell side here, again, look for manipulation. Always try to zoom out. Again, I can't tell based off of this. I need to see more structure. I really can't tell if this entry is good unless I can zoom out and really see the time frame of what the sell side is, and then I can really recognize the model here. It's kind of hard to tell from this. Again, a lot of you guys took the same trade. Looks good. What do you do when ES and NQ both have PD arrays, but one still needs to be retraced to and one is already retraced to? Which one do you validate more? It becomes an SMT. It becomes an SMT. If NQ or ES, if NQ goes into rebalances to a fair value gap, but ES doesn't, it becomes an SMT. Because if you zoom in, there's, again, liquidity. That's a high. So what this becomes is, let's say on this, for example, let me do. Okay. Let's say this is NQ. And let's say this is ES. Okay. NQ and ES both have an imbalance here. NQ comes into this. This becomes an SMT. Because when you zoom in, it becomes an SMT fair value gap is what DJ likes to call it. Right? Because there's a low here, right? There's always going to be nestled liquidity. So this will become an SMT fair value gap, which is if one rebalances, the other one doesn't, there's a high probability that ES won't. Would you say that you need an SMT, or is it simple manipulation stop rate enough for you to have? It could be multiple things. It could be AMD, right? It could be this. It could be, let's say the AMD is not clear. It could be SMT then displacement. Maybe there's no SMT, then I'm looking for just displacement, or maybe a stop rate, right? It's all experience. The more you see it happen, the easier it's going to be to recognize. If there is an SMT on NQ and ES, which one do you take a trade on? It depends. Most of the time, if whichever has the cleaner draw, whichever has the cleaner action, or whichever is stronger. It always depends. A lot of the time, I'll trade the NQ, or whichever has cleaner structure, whichever one's stronger in favor of the draw. A PD array is any ICT concept, so an order block, fair value gap, volume imbalance. That's all PD arrays. All right, guys. Any last questions that you guys have for me tonight to end off the session? Very excited to see what we end up having this week. How can you tell what pair is stronger? Price action. What's being respected, what's being disrespected, the displacement, right? Noticing, let's say, NQ and ES both have a high that we're going to. If NQ ends up displacing through that high, but ES ends up sweeping that high, it shows me that NQ is most likely stronger. All based on price action. Again, which comes with just experience with watching the market. Say if you're trading a market maker model and it makes a market structure shift and a fair value gap, but no SMT, should I still take the trade, or is it makes an SMT and a fair value gap? No. It all depends. It depends if you can recognize the model, right? If you are trading a market maker model, that's the first question. If you are trading it, you have to validate, is this a valid model? Which means, are we retracing on a bigger time frame? Is the external draw bullish or in favor of whatever the internal market, right? Like if I'm looking at buy side of the curve here, right? Number one, is this in favor of the draw? Yes and no. It's not in favor of the external draw because the external draw is lower, but this is in favor of the market maker model. External because we would need to see a retrace anyway higher. So this is a buy model inside of a sell model, but this is the sell model retracing higher to then continue lower. So if you can recognize which one's which and aligning those things is when you're going to get high quality setups. Quick conclusion of what you expect for tomorrow. I'm expecting bullish. I expect the draw and liquidity to be these equal highs on NQ at 16587. So I'm looking to see if we can get a buy up into that 16587 level. Do you always trade an AM/PM session? When can it be also great to trade in pre-market? Pre-market's actually been very, very clean recently. So pre-market has been a very good time to trade recently. It has been a very clean action. But most of the time I only trade AM session. I will trade PM if there's clean opportunity. Yep, the session will be posted. Again, it all depends on the time frame, GTR. Right now, draws higher in a bigger time frame, or this time frame, right? Draws higher. This time frame, I think its draws lower. Now, we won't know draws lower, again, until we recognize the model, which is here. Until we get up here and we end up rejecting and displacing lower, I won't know if the draw's lower or not. Again, that's why I said we have to be able to see more structure to recognize if this is sell side of the curve. This could not be sell side of the curve, and we could bounce here and go to highs. But I think this most likely becomes sell side, so I'm expecting this to come up here. Once we get the rejection here and and then sell back off is when we can recognize that this is market maker sell, and then we can expect to go lower. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this session. I'll post the recording right after this. Get some rest. I will see you all tomorrow morning for live trading. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. I will see you then. Peace.